Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss a very interesting model from change management, and that is called ADKAR model of change management. Okay. If you want to join my Telegram channel, this is the link. You can join the Telegram channel. And if you want to access all my notes, I'll share the link in the description. You can click on that link, join the channel and access the folder where I have pasted more than 500 PDFs. Okay, so let's begin. And if you want to watch the Hindi version of this lecture, the video link is in the description. Okay, let's begin. So let's talk about the Edgar model. So first thing we need to understand is change is inevitable in nature at both personal and professional level, right? So one thing we need to understand, the only consistent thing in the world is change, right? And however, managing change is an effective and very crucial step for any successful organization. So we know that change is definitely going to come, but we try to manage change in a very efficient manner. And for that purpose, Jeff Hyatt gave this model, which was called as Edgar model. It is a very structured framework which helps individuals also as well as organizations also to process the change, right? So if any change is coming up, maybe a technological change or maybe environmental change or any change, even at personal level or professional level, we can use the Edgar framework or a model to use it, right? And ADKAR is basically an acronym which means five different stages. So A is awareness, B is desire, A is learning how to change or knowledge, and then A is again ability, and five is the reinforcement. So the if you look at the first initials, it becomes Edgar model. Okay, so that is why it is called Edgar. I hope the point are clear. Okay, let me show you through a diagram also. So this is a model which I've already explained you, that this five stage model: A for awareness, D for desire, K for knowledge, A for ability, and R for reinforcement. So now let's go one by one on every step. And my first stage is awareness. So what is awareness? Understanding the need of the change, right? That is what awareness is. The first step of Adkar model is to create an awareness about why the change is necessary. Sometimes people do resist, like employees or stakeholder or individuals, they do not understand what is the purpose of this kind of change. So that is the reason why they keep on resisting about change. They do not understand what is the purpose, what is the goal, what is the objective, and how it is going to impact them. So most of the time they only look at the negative side. They don't understand what could be the positive side of any particular change as well. So that is why the first step, as per the Edgar model, is awareness. Try to make sure that you make your employees and your stakeholders or individuals, make them understand that what is the reason behind this change and how it is going to impact. So what are the key questions over here? The first question is that why is this change happening? So you need to explain them that why this change is happening in the organization or at the individual level as well. The second question is, what are the risks of not changing it? So if we are not going to change anything, then what is going to happen? So it is very important that you also make them understand that this change is really important, because if we will not change, then these things can happen, these consequences can happen. Then third is, who is affected by the change? Very important question, because any change will never always have positive results. It will also have some negative results. So that is why it is very important to make people understand that how it is going to impact them and how it is going to, who is going to get affected by the change. Let's take an example. So let's say the company is shifting from traditional retail store to an e-commerce model. It's a big change, right? So in that case, you need to make them understand about the awareness about the market trends, about competition, about customer preferences, how it is shifting online. And that is why, if without this awareness, the employees will always resist the change, right? So it is very important to answer these key questions at this stage and make them understand what is the relevance of change. Moving on to the next stage, and that is called desire. So desire means developing the motivation to support change. It's very important that people should feel motivated for accepting the change. So once awareness is established, once people know that, okay, this is the reason why it is important to have a change, then individual must have a personal motivation to embrace the change. So it is very important that every individual must have some kind of motivation, that, okay, why I want to change and this, how this change is going to benefit me. And for that purpose, it then only they will be very willing to participate in any kind of transformation. So what are the key factors influencing desire over here? Number one is personal impact. People will always have this answer, this question in their mind, that how does this change is going to affect me? right? And if the change is going to affect me positively, then definitely people will be very motivated, right? Number two, company's culture. Now, this is important because how organization is perceiving the change, how they are supporting the people, how they are making sure that this change is not going to impact adversely on people, then people will support. So it is very important that company's culture is dynamic and they are supporting people. Number three, incentive and recognition. So it is very important that employees being encouraged to adapt. And for that, you need to provide them some kind of incentives or some kind of recognition also in the process of change. And now take an example. So if an hospital wants to introduce a new electronic healthcare record system, the doctor and nurses may resist to it, right? So in that situation, management needs to highlight the benefits, that how this patient system will have few errors and how it can create more work life balance. So when work life balance is like a personal benefit for everyone, right? So in that case they will have the desire to embrace this change or adopt this change. So let's move to the third stage, and that is called knowledge, which is means learning how to change, right? So as the stage progresses, individual requires proper training, proper guidance, proper resources, so that they can understand how to implement the change and how they will be able to lead to this change, right? Then only, because if they will don't have any training, then they will not be able to transform themselves. And what are the key components over here for the knowledge development? Number one, you need to provide them training programs, provide them workshops, provide them courses, provide them online learning, which is very very helpful in any kind of change. Number two, hands-on experience, provide them some practical application and do some pilot programs, pilot testing with them. Number three, you can provide them mentorship, provide them coaching, some experienced employees, some external mentors, some managers can come and coach them, guide them. Number four, and now let's move to the example. So example is, let's say a company is shifting their manual entry system to a AI powered automation tool. And for that, they will need to train people how they are going to use the software. So that for that purpose, either you can provide them courses or workshops, or you can provide them any kind of like coaching or mentoring, because that will help them to understand that software, learn that software, and then move on to the new change. Now let's move on to the number fourth stage, and that is called ability. Implementing the change in practice, right? So knowledge alone is not enough, right? Even if you train people, people must have to develop the ability to perform tasks. Sometimes you might be providing them all kind of training, still they don't have the ability to learn, right? And that is the reason why this focus is all about hands-on execution and all about overcoming any kind of challenge which people are facing. What are the ways to build this ability? Number one is gradual implementation. Always do change in step by step process. Always go slow, always go in phases. That helps people to understand change and then adapt to the change rather than doing it very at a very super fast change. Number two, mentoring and coaching. Continuous guidance from the expert or supervisor will always going to help them. Number three, on the job practice. So employees must be provided some kind of on job practice so that they can have a real lifetime experience, like real world experience, right? Of using that application. Let's take an example. If the company wants to implement a remote work policies and providing the employees to work from home by using digital tools like Zoom, Slack, right? All these tools are available, right? However, practice daily communication remotely is going to be a challenge, and for that you have to train people. For that they have to have that ability to use these kind of software like Zoom or maybe Slack. They need to learn. So it is not only about you are training them, it is also about they are learning it. And when training plus learning they come together, then third stage and fourth stage will be successful. Moving on to the next stage, and that is called reinforcement, last stage, right? Sustaining the change over a period of time. So this is the final stage where the change has like completed, becomes a lasting stage, right? It has become the part of the individual routine. With reinforcement, people tend to revert to the old habits. So there could be a chances that people might say that okay, this change is not good, we want to go to the old practice, but you need to sustain that change, right? You don't want to go to the old practice. People will always say that let's go and do what we were doing earlier, right? So what are the methods? Number one, always keep on monitoring them, always providing them proper feedback. Number one. Number two, always provide them recognition and rewards for doing things in the new changing environment. Number three, continuous improvement. Always provide them feedback, make adjustment according to the feedback of the people. Next we have is an example. So let's take an example. So example is, let's say a company is transitioning to a sustainable business practice and they want to reduce plastic waste and energy saving measures. So for this, even if you make the change, you have to, people might shift back to the traditional method. So in that case, you need to monitor process, you need to provide celebrating milestones, right? Then rewarding employees, make it like a culture of the organization so that everybody should be able to do it. So let's take a conclusion of this ADKAR model. So ADKAR model is a very structured approach of any kind of change management. It can really help any individual as well as organization step by step to complete a change process. By focusing on awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, the model really helps to mitigate any kind of resistance faced by the organizations. Whether in corporate transformation or in technology advancement, ADKAR is a very powerful tool and everybody can use it. So thank you so much for enjoying this lecture. I hope you really enjoyed this lecture, the ADKAR model. And this is my new channel, so kindly support this channel. Do subscribe this, and we'll be meeting in the next session. Bye bye.